this invocation of show me how um, presupposes that you already in connection with something that you feel is a wiser, greater, more loving, inclusive, supportive energy than your egoic self, or even the part of you that mostly shows up in the world to take care of business. This greater power, let's call it, that we can surrender into and look to for help when our best efforts just keep repeating the same results. And these days, the consequences of doing the same thing, expecting a different result, seem greater too. We're really getting course corrected around repetition of old habits that no longer serve us, soft addictions that we reach to sort of feel better instantly, our epidemic of dopamine fixing is quite extreme, and the consequences are showing up really, really quickly, certainly in my life. And I don't think I'm alone in that. So I'm just going with everybody in this group has something that they feel they can call on for help that's greater than them and their, Rolodex of past efforts that may or may not work. Might be your wise elder self, might be your future self. You might call it God, you might call it Great Spirit, you might call it she who is known by 1,000 names or more. You might call it nature. Whatever it is, I feel like it's really important to have that and to know what that is. More and more as we go more deeply into this incredible change that's happening inside of us and also on our planet right now. So the show me how invocation that I chose to commit to this morning and for the next indefinite amount of time. And, I'll probably forget and fall on and off this particular commitment as my humanness dictates. But I did remember this morning, I woke up as soon as my eyes opened, about 5:45 this morning, I asked the question, show me how I can be in right, respectful, loving relationship with this day. And all this day including the mundane and the glorious tasks. Show me how to be in right relationship in a way that grows me in the direction of my highest frequency and the embodied expression of my highest timeline at this time. And I waited there. I was pretty groggy. The dogs weren't even awake at this point. And the first thing that popped into my head was play music and dance. Not an unusual invitation from my higher self, source connection, but I sat with it or laid with it for a little bit. Noticed my negotiator pop in immediately. Well, I can't do that straight away because I have to tend to the dogs, and that is true. There's no doing anything until they've been outside and been fed. So, I stayed in the looks within place with this invitation while I was, skating around and slithering around outside with two dogs going in different directions on the snow, on the frozen snow that we have right now. And I was quite excited that just that follow through of the show me how invocation prayer had deposited such a direct, inspired invitation for me. It's not always the case, sometimes there's nothing. And sometimes there's just a lot of a to-do list because my keep it going girl has sort of inserted herself before the more heart and soul inspired direction has even been allowed to land. So as I was outside, I remembered, oh, it's Thursday and I have a class I can attend on Zoom. I have a dance class that I can attend on Zoom with one of my favorite movement teachers, Michael Skelton. So I signed up for it and, I kept myself pretty quiet. I did, check my email, which truly is something that I'm wanting to ease out of in a certain time period in the morning. But I did, and that was okay. And then I noticed that my texts, I had about 5 or 6 texts come in. I'm like, wow, that's unusual. But I held my boundary. I didn't go to them. I didn't look. I didn't respond. I wanted to enter this invitation with as much presence and respect, right? Because that was my how can I show me how request was, how to be in right, respectful, loving relationship with my day. And so respect is important. So I wanted to respect the time that I'd set aside to do this. And just for an hour and a half. And I kind of had a feeling that, I would get some things pressing in to challenge that space, that dedication. So I picked a stone from my little group of working stones that are always around. And every time an intrusive thought or something that I thought I had to deal with, or my strategizer popped in, or my list maker came in, I just blew it into the stone. I just kept this stone with me the whole time. And I noticed it, I acknowledged it, but I didn't give it any time. It didn't allow it to compress the space that I had created. And I think this is just such a telling thing of our time. It wasn't the case for me, 10 years ago. I was much better at protecting my energetic and time and space boundaries. And I think it's just what we're all dealing with right now is this constant intrusion of everything, really, with this underlying energy of if you don't tend to it right now, something bad will happen. If you don't look at that piece of information right now, something bad will happen. You'll miss something. And, there's this sense of nervous system dysregulation all the time. This hypervigilance and checking and rechecking and inability to give space and time to ourselves first, to ourselves first and foremost. Oxygen mask on self first before we're able to tend to anything. And as I persisted with my stone blowing and pushing out my space, just lovingly, kindly, just saying, no, not yet, no, not yet, no, not now, I really was able to reconnect with my heart, with my life force, with my sensuality, with my self, and reset my nervous system. There were some beautiful deep breaths. There were some tears. There were some resting in the fetal position. All very organic, but not without this insistence of things, Look at me, think about me. What about this? What about that? And I guess the point and the point always sounds very pokey, making a point. The message that I want to convey here is that it's not without effort that we tend our space right now. It's not without devotion and persistence that we create our day. Asking that question in the morning to the part of ourselves that we believe is wiser or, beyond even our human self that we're connected to, asking that question, show me how, really involves a willingness to surrender, a willingness to let go, a willingness to be in a different relationship with how we tend our day, how we tend our life, how we tend our body, how we tend our relationships, how we tend our work. And I think it's going to require that for us to stay sane and balanced and connected as we move into this very different, fast-moving energy of this year and beyond. I don't think just being in the crash position waiting for it to get easier is a solution. And as I mentioned earlier, I've certainly noticed for myself that all the little revolving door of quick fixes that I have or had in my life, whether it's comfort food or, going on a bit of a scrolling journey or television or whatever the distraction is, the consequence for me these days is pretty sharp. I notice it pretty quickly, and also the consequence of always trying to do it from my will center, from the part of me that is, I can do this, I can power through, and the box checker, just isn't working anymore. It's just not working anymore. And it's a really fast burnout if I operate from that place. And the delight for me that comes when I start my day with that invocation at show me how, and then walk with it through the entire day to not just do it once. Show me how to open to beauty. Show me how to open to grace. Show me how to open to love. Show me how to open to peace. Show me how is, I think, really the pivot that's needed right now.